Vally, as always, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. You were listening to the Energy Minister say what he said there. We'll go into some of the details following the recommendations in that VGBE report, coinciding, as he said, with at least 4 other reports. And so there's a trend that's emerging based on the recommendations made throughout all of those 5 reports. But let's get your highlights. I mean, what did the Minister say this morning that is the most important thing that you heard?
Good morning, Imam, and a very good morning to your viewers as well, and thank you for having me back. Yes, I also listened to that media
All right, we're having some network issues there, which I'm sure are apparent to you as apparent to you as they are to me. So hopefully we can reestablish with Vally. But some of the things the Minister was saying this morning is that across those 5 reports, 3 themes seem to be consonant amongst all 3. And the one is process. It's the management of the information that they're getting across the grid itself and their systems. The second part, speaking to the operating systems and plant condition. And the third one is around the human resource, the mindset and behavior and morale. These are some of the areas that they're going to be putting some extra focus in the weeks and months ahead to achieve the goal, the continued objective of maintaining stability after making key leadership appointments, which is what he said there, that there is some of that stability returning to the grid. Also talking about the Energy Action Plan, and some of the attributes of that include dealing with the condition of some of the plants, being able to make those evaluations, responding to capacity challenges at Eskom, saying it's inadequate and they need to respond to these human resources issues in terms of skills and experience. Part of the challenge at Eskom has been the skills hemorrhage. Other issues as well center around environmental compliance. So a lot of the stations, he said, would be found wanting. So it's about really getting everything at Eskom, all the way from management to decisions that are being made to operational effectiveness and maintenance, all aligned so that we don't see some of the major issues we have. Also saying and announcing, importantly, the reclamation of about 3,000 megawatts since February. I think we've got Vally back. So, Vally, let's go back to you then. And I know you're joining us on a call now, given the network issues. But yes, your headline takeaways from what the Minister was telling us this morning.
Good morning, Imam, and a very good morning to your viewers as well. Yes, I think you've also touched on some of the headlines, but just for me, we talked at length at the beginning to the various reports that Eskom has been exposed to over the years. And of course, he's given, and he was quite happy with the VGBE report. And then he talked a lot about the policies and procedures and the procurement thereof. And then he talked about the technical aspects, maintenance, planned maintenance, etc. And of course, we talked at length on the people aspects. But for me, Imam, although you mentioned all of those reports, I'm of the opinion that the VGBE report must be taken very, very seriously by government. I'm not saying that the other reports were not important, but the VGBE report must be taken seriously because it's a report that was written by hardcore generation people, power generation engineers, who've been eating and sleeping and drinking generation for many, many decades. And I know those companies in the consortium, VGB, RWE, etc. So I would say that, as the Minister alluded, that Eskom was also going to be consolidating all of those reports and then taking the learnings, the recommendation from them in their resolution of the challenges. But I would argue that Eskom and the government must take the bulk of the recommendations, because they made some far-reaching recommendations and excellent recommendations by the VGBE consortium.
I think, Vally, what would be really great for our viewers is if you just summarize maybe the top 3 or the top 4, the most important ones that you say the minister should be heeding in terms of the recommendations of that VGBE report. And chief among them was what struck many of us as being the most basic, is just get the operation, the operational things, operational things done. Let the engineers do their work. Let them do it without interference.
Yes, I'm glad you asked the question, because the key takeaway from that report, how many 614 pages, I'm still reading through it, but I've been to the main point. The key takeaway is that what they've said is that, and bear in mind that the mandate was also restricted, so in the context of the mandate, which was mainly along the generation, maintenance and budget, etc., what they said was that the key cause of the challenges was actually one factor. That was the generation management, and it's dysfunctional, and from a structural point of view, I'm using my own words, etc., and that needs to be rectified. And then key to that, the solution is they need to use global norms and practices to affect O&M. But Imam, in that recommendation, what they've said is that there's, and I say this with due respect to the generation head office team, there's significant interference by head office people, management, leadership, in the affairs of the power station management. In fact, the power station management currently is disempowered, and the power needs to go back to the power station management and let them take decisions critically. And then they give a whole host of granular recommendations to that. And of course, one point there, they say that the generation division needs to be restructured, and the coal fleet and the ops and maintenance must report directly to the group executive.
Yeah, and I think it's worth, even though it's a big report, as you say, everyone should make themselves familiar with it, because it does speak to how we recover. Vally Padayachee, as always, thank you very much for talking to us.